Night on Southern Newsweek. We talk with Otago student Hannah Morgan, who swam between Stewart Island and Bluff for charity. Some southern cows are modelling a new type of collar. And Dunedin's Heart Kids celebrate Valentine's Day. Kia ora, I'm Sophie Morris. Fighting off seasickness, University of Otago student Hannah Morgan slogged it out, swimming across Vovo Strait to raise awareness about mental health. A large group of well-wishers were waiting at Bluff Harbour to welcome her back to the mainland.
Taking the easy way back home, 20-year-old Hannah Morgan sails back into Bluff after swimming over to Stewart Island earlier in the day.
I'm just so overwhelmed with everyone's support and encouragement and kindness and generosity, and it's just, I could never have imagined such an outcome, and I'm just so grateful.
Clocking in at 8 hours and 46 minutes, yesterday's swim was about 16 minutes short of the record, but despite the long slog, her mother was surprised to see her daughter running out of the water and up to the beach.
I wouldn't have been surprised if she crawled out of the beach. But obviously she had a fair bit of energy. She even did a dance for me on the boat when we came over to say hello to her.
Morgan says the challenge was a gruelling one, with seasickness affecting her for well over half the swim.
It was just such a slog the entire way, and I got to a point where I just hit a wall and I was really sick at 2 points, and so just having to come back from that was pretty hard, but I did it. I came back and I finished it, and I'm so happy.
Her mum attributes yesterday's success to mental and physical resilience.
I had zero doubt. I know she put in so much training over the last year, really. I know she's got really huge amount of both mental and physical stamina, so I think more than anything it's a mental game.
As a student at Otago University, Morgan's swim across Vovo Strait was to raise awareness of mental health, and she's concerned at the number of fellow students affected by such issues.
The amount of people that have rallied behind me for this is just incredible, and I think that's testament to how much New Zealand cares about mental health and each other. So that's all I can say, is that there are people behind you no matter what, whether or not you know them or you don't.
A Give a Little page set up for the swim showed more than $21,000 had been raised yesterday in Bluff for the South Today.
Farm fences could be history as an Otago farm tests some cattle collars with a difference. State-owned enterprise Landcorp has teamed up with Ag Research for a 2-month trial to test virtual fencing technology.
Blissfully unaware of the role they're playing in potentially changing the way dairy farms operate, cattle on Waipori Station have been fixed with special collars to stop them wandering into areas they shouldn't.
It's fitted with a GPS that helps train them to stay away from sensitive environments that we choose based on a select criteria.
Those sensitive environments include hundreds of kilometres of waterways. State-owned enterprise Landcorp owns 2 farms in the area, both of which have land bordering Lake Mahinarangi. Instead of having to fence the vast areas, they've teamed up with Ag Research to run a 2-month trial to test virtual fencing technology.
This is a new innovation that's come along as an alternative to traditional fencing of waterways, which takes a lot of infrastructure, a lot of time and a lot of R&M in the future.
When the animals move near the forbidden zones, the collar gives off a buzzing noise which grows gradually louder. If that doesn't work, the animal receives a single electric pulse to the back of its neck.
We're looking to exclude cattle from waterways is the goal behind it, and sensitive environments. And on top of that, we also want to protect our animals' welfare and monitor them.
It's the first virtual fencing trial in a commercial beef herd in New Zealand. If successful, it could provide a cheaper alternative to traditional physical boundaries. In Waipori, the South Today.
2 men have died after being swept off the rocks while gathering seafood at Kakanui in North Otago. Police say 3 men were reported missing in the water of Harbour Terrace at around 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday. 1 man made his way back to the shore with no injuries, while a 2nd man was found dead by a rescue helicopter. The 3rd man was found dead by a surfer who helped get the victim onto a boat so he could be taken back to shore. 2 divers appeared to be in the water before one was winched out with another man, believed to be one of the missing men. Kakanui camping ground owner Alan Jones says the sea had been churning all day, and there was also a very strong rip in the area which had caught swimmers and divers out before. Local Māori have honoured the two brothers who died by placing a rāhui at the site. It wasn't only Valentine's Day on February 14th, but also International Congenital Heart Defect Day. Across New Zealand, children and teachers showed their support and love for families and children living with congenital heart disease.
Marking Heart Kids Day at preschools in Mosgiel. Wee Nippers preschoolers dressed in red, not to celebrate the romantic side of Valentine's Day, but in recognition of children who have to undergo surgery for congenital heart defects. Just down the road at Montessori Preschool is heart kid Elsie Mitchell.
Elsie was born with 4 holes in her heart, and last year, or coming up a year actually in April, we went to Starship and had surgery, didn't we, Elsie, to get all your holes fixed in your heart?
Debbie Mitchell says the Heart Kids charity has been helping them through the difficult process.
Heart Kids were amazing, so they help you when you get up there, they come in and visit you. They gave you this beer, didn't they? And then down when we get home.
Elsa toys.
And what else did they give you?
Anna and Elsa toys.
Anna and Elsa toys, didn't they? Yeah. And Heart Kids is great. It's a great charity, and they do lots for the kids.
Around 12 babies a week in New Zealand are born with heart defects, and Melina Parks of Heart Kids says her organisation relies on people's generosity.
Heart Kids receive no government funding. We're a small charity with a big job, and we are very privileged to be able to support these very special children and their families throughout their life, wherever their journey might take them.
Young Elsie is still receiving checkups every 6 months, with the possibility of further surgery on a heart valve. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek. A jib-stopping barber makes sure his workmates are a cut above the rest. And rare kakapo chicks are receiving tender loving care as their parents are encouraged to make more babies. Welcome back. Dunedin's Hayward College isn't the only thing getting a spruce up, with workers receiving free haircuts on site from one of their colleagues. Contractors have been hard at work completing the renovations to the university hostel before the students come back.
Getting a much-needed trim, Icon Construction employee Nathan Hasty gets a shave from his colleague Joel Taniora during a bit of downtime while they renovate Hayward College. This summer has been the first taste of construction work for the former hairdresser.
I'd been a barber for the last decade, so that had paid the bills up until the time I started at Hayward, and then literally it was just moving from these tools to another set of tools.
Many of the workers have been doing 14-hour days, 7 days a week to complete the $11 million project in just 3 months. But the jib-stopping team found themselves ahead of schedule, allowing time for Taniora to utilise the skills from his former job.
With a little bit of downtime, you get to suss out who wants a haircut, who needs a haircut really. Like being in the game, in the barber game for that long, you definitely know who needs a haircut.
He's been allowed to do the hairdressing during work time as a way of the company giving back to staff.
The guy who I was working for, he started really telling everybody that I was a barber, and it sort of went from there. And first I just started with the rare few, like the bosses and da-da-da-da-da.
Requests for a cut and shave have snowballed, and he's probably cut the hair of all 50 Icon Construction employees at least once, including about 10 on the day we spoke with him.
I became more of a myth and legend, like the jib fixer who's a barber, you know, so and then it just turned into, oh, can you do mine? And once somebody's got a haircut and they're walking around, they ask, oh, who did your haircut? And all of a sudden it's the guy putting up the walls down the hallways. So
the Hayward College renovations are expected to be finished by the end of this week. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Queenstown Police are trying to track down the driver of a rental van who forced an oncoming vehicle off the road on State Highway 6 near Garston. Police were sent a video by a motorist travelling in the same direction as a convoy of white rental vans. It shows a group of vans and another passing a truck to rejoin the convoy. The last Apollo rental van in the group is seen overtaking the vehicle with a dash cam fitted. It swerves into the correct lane to avoid a collision, then overtakes a truck at speed to catch up with the convoy. A four-wheel drive vehicle travelling in the opposite lane had to pull off onto a gravel verge to avoid a head-on collision. Police say the standard of driving is shocking, but not uncommon for these roads, and they're searching for the driver. And a first for the city, a flock of New Zealand's rarest birds are being hand-raised at Dunedin's Wildlife Hospital. The Department of Conservation brought the kakapo chicks to Dunedin in an effort to relieve pressure during their largest breeding season since recovery efforts began.
A positive step for a bird species almost completely exterminated by predators 100 years ago. These kakapo chicks being hand-reared at Dunedin Wildlife Hospital. This year has seen kakapo living on offshore islands starting breeding much earlier than usual. The Department of Conservation have used the opportunity to take the first round of hatched chicks away from mothers and encourage the adults to remate.
The goal is normally to get chicks or eggs back into nests, but what they've done this year is they've taken all the eggs and actually shut the nests down, and the hope is that the mothers will then go and find a boy again and mate again and lay more eggs, and it's worked. It's happening. They're a double clutching.
These little kakapo are also on their way to becoming TV celebrities, with Dunedin-based wildlife documentary company NHNZ filming a 5-part documentary series about the facility.
We see an incredible amount of endangered species here, and it's important for us to let the world know and let New Zealand know what we're doing, especially because we actually don't get government funding for this.
While she's been working with kakapo recovery since 2009, hand-rearing 5 chicks is not a task to take on lightly.
You know, I've worked with them for so long, they trust me. I spent 6 months working with them during the 2016 season, sort of overseeing a lot of the hand-rearing and making sure that the chicks stayed healthy. So they trusted that I would, do a good job with their chicks, so no pressure. But
the chicks are kept in an incubator and need to be fed regularly, which means someone needs to be at the hospital at all times.
Their stay here involves quite a lot of long hours of feeding. So I've been here from 5:30 every morning to start the morning shift. So they get fed. Their first feed starts at 6 after they've had a weigh-in and a check, and then kind of feed them every 3 to 4 hourly, depending on how old they are.
Last year there were 147 kakapo in the world, but they're hoping to boost this number with another 30 to 50 chicks from this season alone. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
The explosion of modern art from mainland China is being showcased in an exhibition at the Dunedin Public Art Gallery. New Networks is a collection of interesting and provocative artworks gathered from galleries around New Zealand and Australia.
Modern Chinese works on display at Dunedin's Public Art Gallery. The New Networks exhibition explores the rapid transformation of art from mainland China since the repressive Cultural Revolution. The works of 16 different artists were picked from collections around New Zealand and Australia to showcase the wide spectrum of new Chinese art from the last 4 decades.
There's 23 works in total, and they have been loaned from Auckland Art Gallery, Gavette Brewster Art Gallery, Art Gallery of New South Wales, Queensland Art Gallery, Gallery of Modern Art, and the White Rabbit collection in Sydney.
The exhibition includes Lu Chinois' porcelain bowls and jars seeming full of mysterious red liquid, which actually turns out to be part of the glaze. Zhu Shen takes over a whole room with an authentic Asian supermarket, although all the products on the shelves are empty. And dissident artist Ai Weiwei makes a statement with a pile of sunflower seeds, with each porcelain seed made by hand. Tank Project is from the White Rabbit collection, a privately funded but public art gallery. It's a life-size replica of a Soviet tank but made out of leather. The T-34 has been cited as the most effective, efficient and influential tank of World War II. Here its deflated appearance and what it's made from can be interpreted in various ways.
People have commented on China's military history, about its manufacturing capabilities. This work is made out of Italian leather. It was made over a period of 2 years, and so made out of the same materials that designer handbags and things like that are made from.
The tank arrived as separate components which art gallery staff had to stick together with leather thread.
And so it took us a team of about 5 people a couple of days to put it together. It was quite simple, it was like a giant puzzle.
Running alongside New Networks is Young Long Liang's Artificial Wonderland, with what appears to be beautiful classic landscapes, but on closer inspection are actually made up from contemporary industrial structures and buildings. The exhibition of contemporary Chinese art runs until the end of April in Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek. An international astronomers gathering in Canterbury attracts stargazers from far and wide. And penguins from Oamaru are rescued and are in recovery. Welcome back. On Tuesday, University of Otago student Hannah Morgan became the 8th person to swim across Foveaux Strait. The crossing presents many challenges, including the risk of jellyfish stings, as both the first swimmer across the strait and Morgan can attest.
Greeted by well-wishers, including her mother, Hannah Morgan returning to Bluff after swimming across Foveaux Strait on Tuesday. The 20-kilometre wide channel has only been crossed by 7 other swimmers and presents huge difficulties for those who attempt it. Morgan's support team were helped with the loan of an electric shark repeller.
The New Zealand Diving and Salvage Operation and Sanford's lent us their shark shield, which gave us a little bit more confidence. Just an electronic shield that sort of sends out a field that gives her some sort of protection.
Stinging jellyfish are also a challenge, as John van Leeuwen found out back in 1963 when he became the first to swim the strait.
When we struck the blue bottles in the water, they're Portuguese men of war. They got massive big tentacles on them. You feel them all the way around your body when you used to swim through them.
Van Leeuwen had grease dabbed all over his body to avoid the stings, except for his head.
Around the face, I had no grease on it at all, and they really just about killed me in the water. And I went to Ivan, the coach, and say, "I'm not putting up with this anymore." And there was a shaft of the boat going through the water, and there was grease all around the shaft there, dirty black grease. So Ivan got his hand in, and he got a handful of grease and put it all around my face.
Morgan says out of all the challenges, seasickness was the worst for her.
I got really, really seasick, and that really just puts you in a green state, so it was pretty hard, and feeling that for like at least 6 of the however long I was in the water hours, so I'm just absolutely just chuffed that I could get through it, because that was like, it just had me green in the face.
Hannah's Swim Straight for Life Give a Little page has now raised around $25,000 towards mental health. In Invercargill, for the South Today.
A group of highly respected astronomers from across the globe have converged on Canterbury for a series of events, and an International Women and Girls in Astronomy Day gathering was on the programme.
All about space. That's how Hong Kong-based researcher Dr. Angelica Angelis describes her life. She's travelled the world learning about the skies.
Yes, so it's been a long time since I'm not in Spain. So I did my bachelor degree in Sweden, and there I did a trip to the Arctic. I was really fascinated about this extreme environment and so on. So then when I finished, I moved to Germany, and then after Germany, I moved to London.
She's on her second trip to the province after visiting the Oxford Area School last year. The Canterbury welcome a lot warmer than the one she received in Chinese-controlled Tibet on her third attempt to get into the country.
I had to hide in the back of the car with a blanket on top, and I just went through, and I had a hat and sunglasses completely to cover my face, because I'm a foreigner. They can really see I'm a foreigner from really far away. Yes. I'm very obvious, right? So, yeah. And I managed to go in, and then we took a lot of samples, and it was fantastic.
During this orbit to Aotearoa, she's inspiring aspiring astronomers at the event held on International Women and Girls in Astronomy Day.
So when I started, we were, 120 students, and we were about 10 women, something like that. So really feel dominated by men. This is my experience. I've been doing a lot of talks to girls in schools to prove that you don't have to be manly to do this kind of hard science.
Angelis says in her experience it's rare to see women excelling in the field of astronomy, and even now when people ask her what she does for a living, she says they assume she's a hairdresser or a makeup artist, and she loves proving them wrong. In Timaru, The South Today.
Workers at the Oamaru Blue Penguin Colony say the public's behaviour around the protected species is becoming increasingly important for the animal's survival. 2 Fiordland crested penguins are now in care. One was found at Kakanui, while the other was picked up by colony staff in front of a crowd of onlookers at Oamaru Harbour.
Having a well-earned drink before going into temporary care at the Oamaru Blue Penguin Colony Rehabilitation Centre. This Fiordland crested penguin was spotted by members of the public in the Oamaru Harbour car park.
One of our staff members went over and had a look at it, and it was a Fiordland crested penguin just about to start just having started its molt. Okay. So I couldn't go to see, but it was heading down to the water, obviously quite hot and in need of a drink.
She says busy public areas and molting penguins don't mix well. While dogs are permitted in the harbour area during daylight, they must be kept on a lead. And Dr Agnew is disappointed not all dog owners are being responsible.
So there were a lot of people there, and a couple of people with their dogs. One person had their dog on a lead, which is great, but the other person dog off the lead. Okay. So this penguin was clearly in a place that it wasn't going to be safe, needed to be rescued. So we picked it up and brought it back here to the colony.
She says mid to late summer is a time species like the Fiordland crested penguins might be found along our beaches.
This time of year, between January and April, is when you might see other species of penguin that you don't normally come ashore to molt on our coast.
She says DOC are always keen to autopsy any dead yellow-eyed penguins found on beaches, as long as they're still fresh. But any penguins which seem distressed or in a vulnerable location should be left to the experts.
Members of the public shouldn't pick up a penguin if they think it's in distress. They should call the Department of Conservation. They have an 0800 number.
And while the little blue penguin isn't a species at high risk, DOC are always keen to hear of sightings of other penguins, such as the yellow-eye and the Fiordland crested. In Oamaru, for The South Today.
Some lucky passengers have been given a chance to sail aboard the Spirit of New Zealand on a recent cruise around Otago Harbour. The 3-masted sailing vessel visited Dunedin to say thanks to its corporate sponsors.
Sailing the calm waters of Dunedin's harbour, around 80 guests getting to go sailing aboard the Spirit of New Zealand as a way of saying thanks for their ongoing support of the Spirit of Adventure Trust. One of the passengers was Steve Bennett of the Southern Trust.
Within the harbour confines it was really neat. It was nice southerly tailwind heading down towards Port Chalmers.
The Southern Trust operates gaming machines across the country, giving the money raised to good causes. The Spirit of New Zealand, with its annual operational bill of around $3.5 million, is a good fit.
The trustees have a priority around children, youth development, and the Spirit of Adventure, Spirit of New Zealand falls well within that. It gives young children or young adults an opportunity to take part in their programs. They get all sorts of things around leadership and teamwork and responsibility and you name it.
During the cruise, guests were invited to help out lowering and adjusting the large mainsails and setting the jibs.
They have quite a good crew, but people are encouraged to take part in actually hauling the sails up and bring them down and doing stuff. So yeah, I was on the ropes hauling hauling everything in and making sure the sails went up all right.
Bennett wants the public to learn more about the sailing ship and its contribution to New Zealand youth.
No, it's a very well worthwhile project if people are interested in it. www Spirit of Adventure and have a look for yourself. It's got a proven track record of providing quality programs for young Kiwis. Yeah.
After leaving Dunedin, the vessel sailed along the South Island coast to Nelson. In Dunedin for the South Today.
That's all for Southern Newsweek. For these stories and more, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Sophie Morris. Thanks for joining us.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.